It's your girl, your host, Jocelyn. Y como siempre, I am so grateful you are here. This week is your girl's birthday week. In a few days, I am officially turning 29, which is a while to say that I'm officially stepping into the last year of my 20s. I feel like the moment that I turned 28, it really hit me that I am nearing the end of my 20s, of this very special decade. And I get very sentimental thinking about stepping out of my 20s because, again, this decade has been just so special to me. So much has happened in my 20s, which I feel we can all relate to. And me personally, I honestly, like through all the ups and downs and rock bottoms and highest of highs, like I'm so grateful for all that has happened in my 20s and the way that I responded to life in my 20s, even in the responses where I wouldn't respond in that way again. I'm just so grateful for all the me's that I've been through my 20s. That rhymed. But in this episode, I'm not going to be expanding on my 20s because it's a whole other conversation. I simply want to expand on, reflecting on my 28-year-old self. Like as of now, me recording this, like this is the last podcast episode that I'm recording as my 28-year-old self. And I'm one of those people where it's like, I always acknowledge like when something is the first time. And I also have become someone who acknowledges like, oh, this is the last time. And I love acknowledging that because I feel like it makes me cherish everything just so much more deeply. So I'm definitely cherishing this episode and this conversation so much more deeply because all the podcast episodes that I recorded as my 28-year-old self, all the conversations that I've had with guests as my 28-year-old self have just felt so wholesome and fulfilling and inspiring to me. And I pray that, at least one of the conversations that my 28-year-old self has published and shared with you on this podcast has felt just also so wholesome and heartwarming and inspiring to you too. But yeah, I'm turning 29 in a few days, and I actually want to start this conversation with a journal entry that I wrote a few days ago. I did an episode around my last birthday where I expressed gratitude for my 27-year-old self. And it just felt right for me to do an episode expressing gratitude for my 28-year-old self. So for all of you that tune into this episode, thank you for taking an interest in listening to my reflections and just bringing me into your present moment. Truly, I am so honored. So let me share this journal entry with you all. I feel like this will be a wonderful way to kind of dive deeper into this conversation. This was written on October 26th. Today officially marks my last week being 28. Here I am again, right? Acknowledging like, oh, this is the last week. I feel like I've been saying this a lot the past couple of years, but time feels like it's flying by so quickly. Regardless, I genuinely feel satisfied with how I'm spending my time because I genuinely feel I am trying my best, even when I sometimes feel like my best isn't my best. I am grateful I allow myself to feel satisfied. I feel it's important. I feel there's a way to feel satisfied without being complacent and stagnating yourself. Anyways, this is my last week being 28, and I have felt sentimental about it. Honestly, the moment I turned 28, I have felt sentimental, as if I'm already grieving my 20s. Your late 20s are so interesting. At least mine have been, especially with them being the time where you experience your Saturn return. I'm so grateful for my Saturn return, though it's felt incredibly challenging and difficult. My Saturn return, my late 20s, so greatly and profoundly transformed me. I'll never forget just how significant these past couple of years of my life have been and will forever be. It has felt like a rites of passage, like an initiation into adulthood, into womanhood. I've healed and awakened and evolved so much, so much. I feel so proud of myself. I know me in my 30s is going to be so grateful of me in my 20s. Part of the reason why I felt so inspired and motivated to be so intentional with how I invest my time and energy is to set me in my 30s up for success. And I know I am. I know I have been. Even though I haven't really experienced the external manifestations my ego anticipated, the internal manifestations have been deeply beautiful and I know are life-changing in ways beyond my current limited perception. 27 felt like the most profoundly healing and awakening year of my life thus far. And as I reflect on 28, it feels like a year of calm. It feels like a year of integrating and embodying the healed and awakened self. When I took my sister out to eat for her birthday, I asked her, what's one of the lessons she learned in her 37th year? She said that one of her biggest lessons is that you can't rush the process, which is relatable. She returned the question to me, and what came to mind for me in that moment is that relaxing is powerful. And that is the journal entry that I wanted to share with you all. And there's so much that I can get into, which I do want to get into. So, okay, what's the first thing I want to dive into here? Okay, where I wrote here, honestly, the moment I turned 28, I have felt sentimental, as if I am already grieving my 30s. Your late 20s are so interesting, at least mine have been, especially with them being the time where you experience your Saturn return. Honestly, y'all, like your late 20s really is something. For those of you who are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever age you're in, beyond your 20s, I don't know if this is relatable to you as well. And if you found yourself in your late 20s, kind of like already grieving your 20s, but that's really how it's felt for me. Like it just hits you, like I feel like 27, it was 27 is like the last year where you're like still feeling like your young 20s self. But the moment you turn 28, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is it. This is it. Like I'm really about to be 30 soon. I'm about to step into this new decade. And I feel like I've been reflecting so much about my 20s and simultaneously feel like I've really been like feeling like, okay, it's go time. Like, how can I set myself up for success in my 30s? Like, I really feel like I've been very serious, but like not serious and like, like a very rigid way, but just serious in like a very devoted, dedicated way, a very caring way where it's like, okay, what are some improvements that I can sincerely make now that will benefit me in my 30s and also honor me in my 20s, like really having a grand exit moment. What does that look like for me? And for me, it's looked like, long story short, just getting my shit together in various ways. I mean, 27 was, I feel like, really set me up for these last couple of years, because 27 was the year where I experienced the most profound healing and awakening I've ever experienced in my entire life. Like, I did the most shadow work. It was, you can listen back on that episode where I expressed gratitude to my 27-year-old self. I also have a video on my YouTube channel dedicated to my 27-year-old self. And I kind of just showed in the video all the things that contributed to that year just being a profoundly healing and awakening year. And I feel like, that was me stepping into my higher self, that, because I've done a lot of healing throughout my 20s, but the healing that I did in 27 was like deep healing on like a vibrational cellular level, where it was very conscious, very intentional. I held a lot of space for it. And 28 felt more so like the integration of it all, like the embodiment of it. 27 was me exploring a lot of healing modalities and like finding my way, and just kind of like, it was like the rough parts of the healing and of the awakening and of the shadow work and all that. And 28 did have some rough parts as well, but it was more so like me really exemplifying this more healed and awakened self. And I feel like that's really what your Saturn return is all about. And I think about this often. I'm so grateful to know that I'm experiencing my Saturn return. I feel like if I didn't know that I was experiencing my Saturn return, everything that I've been going through would hit so different. I feel like part of the reason why I've been so intentional about the way that I'm moving throughout these last couple of years, last few years, last 3 years of my 20s is because of my knowledge of me experiencing and going through and growing through my Saturn return. And your Saturn return really is like a rites of passage. Like, I firmly believe that we don't really become adults until we go through our Saturn return, like until we're like 29, 30, like in our early 30s. Because in your 20s, I don't know, like you're still very childish in so many ways. There's so many first, so much like the heartbreaks and the losses and the mistakes. And I mean, obviously, we're going to be making mistakes in every decade, but your Saturn return, your late 20s really is like an initiation into adulthood. Like, it really, I don't know, something about it just feels like, okay, I'm stepping into my adulthood. I just feel more mature in a lot of ways. And because of that, it's also felt like an initiation into womanhood. Like, I feel so much more womanly in a lot of ways, like really embracing my femininity differently, really awakening to stepping into and affirming my worthiness, being more clear-minded and clear-hearted on what my desires are, what my needs are, and also, holding myself accountable and taking responsibility for the aspects of my life that need some fine-tuning, for adulthood. And I was talking to a friend the other day because she is turning 28, actually the day before my birthday. And, we both have acknowledged that, in this next decade, as we are stepping into our 30s, I don't know if a lot of other women listening to this can relate to this, but I just like we talked about this. Her and myself, we both are already thinking and considering the truth that, in our 30s, that's when we become mothers. For those of us who desire to be mothers, like, it happens in your 30s. If it didn't happen in your 20s, for some of us, it happens in our 40s too. But what I'm getting at is, that's really when you start thinking like, yeah, this is the decade that I'm stepping into, is the decade where I am manifesting a life partner. I'm manifesting a family, children, and I am just very mindful of that. Like, what is that requiring of me, And in large part, I feel like my focus is, like really establishing myself in my career and in who I am as a woman, and um standing tall in that. I really, again, just I feel like these 27, 28, and even more so 29 are the years of like really strengthening your foundation, and if needed, breaking down completely the foundation that you had and rebuilding it, starting all over. So that's what it's been. That's what your Saturn return is, like it's really like a rude awakening, and we experience a Saturn return every 26, 27, 28 years, if I'm not mistaken. So our next Saturn return is around our 50s. And, we often say like, we experience quarter life crises, midlife crises, and then around 75, another crisis. But really what that is our Saturn return, just kind of really shaking things up, and us, really taking a deep look at our foundation, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working, and us being matured in new ways, and being developed and prepared for what's to come in this next grand version of ourselves. So, that was a bit of a tangent, but really just wanted this episode to be an episode where I'm just pouring my heart out and just speaking honestly and openly with you all and going with the flow. So, what's the next thing that I want to touch on here? Okay, I feel like the next thing that I want to touch on, because here I'm reading the part where I wrote, even though I haven't really experienced the external manifestations my ego anticipated, the internal manifestations have been deeply beautiful, and I know are life-changing in ways beyond my current limited perception. And then I go on to say how, like, the first thing that came to mind for me about one of the biggest lessons that I learned this year of being 28 is that relaxing is powerful. And I feel like those kind of go a bit hand in hand. So that's what I want to transition into and really expand on in this episode, is the fact that 28 feels like the year of calm. Like when I started, through the whole month of October, as soon as it turned October, like I realized like, wow, this is my last full month being 28. And, the whole month before my birthday, I'm just very reflective on the year that passed. And as I started reflecting on 28, honestly, like a part of me was like, bro, 28 was so uneventful. Like nothing happened in 28. What am I going to share? What am I going to talk about? Um and then I realized that part of the reason why perhaps 28 feels uneventful is because 28 was incredibly calm for me. Like I really, really prioritized my peace. And, earlier I mentioned how 27 was like the deeply, profoundly healing, awakening year of my whole life so far. And 28 was like the integration of that, right? Like 27 was stepping into this more healed, more awakened self. And 28 was like really embodying that greater healed and awakened self. And, in large part, what 27 looked like when I was going through that profound healing and awakening was me reclaiming my calm self, because I'm naturally just such a calm person. And this isn't the first time that I realized this. I realized this throughout my 20s. I've just always been a very calm, naturally calm, quiet, soft spoken gal. And my nature is silence. My nature is, softness. And we could get into the truth that really this is all of our true nature. But that's a whole other conversation. So with Saturn return, I definitely want to have a whole other conversation just about Saturn return, because such a powerful time in our lives. But what I experienced leading up to me turning 27 and just that very profoundly healing awakening year, like I just experienced like a tower moment. It felt like kind of like a rock bottom, but I had a rock bottom before that really, really felt like a rock bottom. Like I don't know how much more rock bottom it can get than that. And that's the beauty of experiencing those kinds of, seasons in your life where it's like, I don't even know how much lower it can get than this, because from there on, it's like, when your life feels like you're at a low, you look back at that rock bottom and you're like, actually, it could be a lot lower. And that's what it felt like. So it felt like I was experiencing like a second rock bottom, but it wasn't as bad as that first one. That really was truly a rock bottom, because I was in a very toxic relationship and just really lost myself. And, in this second one, that led me honestly into my profoundly healing and awakening year of 27, also felt like, I had somewhat lost myself in some ways. And what I'm really referring to is losing my true self, the self that is calm. Like I know what one way I can tell that I am in alignment with my true self is it's like observing whether or not I'm calm. Like if I'm calm, then I know that I am being my true self. And I've also just acknowledged that my most powerful self is my calm self. My most clear-minded and clear-hearted self is my calm self. And, at 27, it was me really reclaiming my calm self. And I feel like that whole year was just doing the reclamation, and 28 was just embodying it. And 28, I feel like maybe I have to do some more reflecting on this, but 28 may be the most calm year of my life. And it's not because there weren't challenges or hardships. There definitely have been. Oh my gosh, like Saturn return is still Saturn returning. Okay, like, whew, yeah, it's been a humbling time. I will say that. It's been humbling. It's been humbling and very sobering. Sobering in a way where it's just become very clear to me, like what really truly matters, and what my needs are really, what my desires are really, and that's so important to know and become aware of. And there's a saying that, when you experience a healthy relationship, it can feel boring because there's not that much drama going on. So you feel like, you may scare yourself out or sabotage yourself out of this healthy relationship because you're used to the drama. And this year somewhat feels like that. Like, used to having such eventful years that when you have a year where it's just calm, like you're just your calm self and you prioritize your peace, and you're not necessarily used to that for such a prolonged period of time, especially not like used to maintaining that during hardship. Like it can feel like you've had an uneventful year. So, gaining clarity on that, on why this year has felt uneventful, is a clarity that I'm grateful for. Because at first I was like, man, 28 really wasn't all that much. But 28 actually was all that much. Because again, like, I really, really appreciate just how grounded I've become in my calmness and prioritizing my calm self, really valuing and honoring my calm self and valuing it, honoring it, prioritizing it in such a way where I really have been intentional about not allowing any external circumstances to disturb that and remove me from the seat of me embodying and being my calm self. And I feel like that's why, when my sister returned the question to me of what's one of the lessons you've learned in this past year, is that, relaxing is powerful. When I say relaxing, I don't necessarily mean like I've spent, this whole year, getting mani-pedis and massages and going on vacays and, all these things that we consider like relaxation. I'm more so referring to relaxation as a form of surrender. I'm more so referring to relaxation as a reflection of faith, right? Because it takes faith to allow yourself to relax, especially when you're relaxing during situations and circumstances and moments and experiences where typically you would not be relaxed, you know? And I feel like we've been conditioned to believe that during these typically stressful moments, like the responsible response, the normal it is a normal response, but it isn't really a response that is really helpful or productive to really become stressed or worried or doubtful or fearful. And really reminding myself that what good does stressing really do for me? What good does worrying do for me? What good does doubting, does fearing do for me? It doesn't bring me any solutions, you know? And really prioritizing just relaxing through any conflict, relaxing through challenge, relaxing through obstacle, relaxing through difficult emotions, relaxing through healing, through growth, through new experiences, has really been where the reward, the accomplishment has been for me in 28. Like, I really, really realized that relaxing is powerful. Being at peace is powerful. Remaining calm is incredibly powerful. And it takes practice. And also, 28, me claiming it as, my year of calm, it also has felt like my year of being a devotee. I feel like I've been a true devotee through 28, 27 too, because I really devoted myself to healing and awakening. But 28, like I really devoted myself to embodying my healed and awakened self and continuing to do some more healing and awakening, but like really putting in that devotion and daily practice of integrating, embodying, and exemplifying my healed, awakened, calm self. So that's been very beautiful for me. I feel like, it just strengthened my foundation. And I pray to continue to move forward in my journey, to continue to move forward through 29 and through my 30s and just the rest of my life, like really being this 28-year-old self that has remained calm through it all, that has relaxed through most of it, and has allowed herself to do so and trusted and surrendered. Because it is a surrender. Relaxing really is a surrender. Remaining calm is a surrender. And when you relax as a spiritual practice, when you remain calm as a spiritual practice, it just hits different. It really hits different. So that's been so beautiful for me in 28. And I thank myself so much for prioritizing my calm self. I really, really appreciate that. My nervous system really, really appreciates that. Like, shout out to how much I regulated my nervous system this year, especially during these times. Like, I do not take that for granted. The fact that, it's so like, if you're able to remain calm during these times and through whatever turbulence you're going through individually, like that is a superpower. Like it really is. So I don't take that lightly. So that in and of itself has made this year incredibly eventful. I want to share some accomplishments that I experienced in 28, and also some of my favorite moments that I experienced this past year. So I became breathwork certified, which honestly, becoming breathwork certified is one of the best things I've ever become. Like really learning and knowing how to breathe properly also is such a superpower. Like we all should know this. Like we should all really tap into the power of breathing properly and deeply and expansively, and at least know a few techniques, because wow. If you really want to reach your higher potentials, like you absolutely need to tap into breath work. You absolutely need to tap into breath work. And I also am in the process of becoming certified as a meditation teacher and as a yin yoga instructor. So that makes me really happy as well. I've been taking my time with those. Technically, I should already have the certifications for those because it's been a minute since I signed up, but really happy about that. Really grateful that I made that investment. That's an investment that I'm really grateful my 28-year-old self made. I became monetized on YouTube, which is a huge accomplishment. Oh my gosh. Like the fact that I am now making money off of my videos and my YouTube channel is such a dream come true. Like for those of you that are unaware, so to become monetize on YouTube, you need to have 4,000 watch hours and at least 1,000 subscribers, I believe. And getting even just reaching 1,000 subscribers and especially reaching 4,000 watch hours, like is a lot. So very, very grateful for that accomplishment. It makes me so happy. I also got my first podcast sponsor, which is so exciting. Also, a dream come true. Like getting podcast sponsors, like a legit sponsor, is also not easy. And honestly, like to spill the tea, you know, these sponsors are not trying to sponsor you unless you are getting at least 1,000 downloads per episode, which is wild. Like, wild. That said, another accomplishment is me reaching 1,000 downloads per episode. I'm so grateful for that. Like, wow, there's really that many of you listening to my episodes. I do not take that lightly. I started this year with my episodes reaching around like 100 downloads. Like, seriously. And now I'm exiting this year with my episodes reaching around 1,000 downloads per episode. Like, that's incredible. And I thank you all so, so, so much for being here. Honestly, so honored. So honored. So honored. Um, I've been practicing daily yoga. Like, I really devoted myself to yoga this year. I've been practicing yoga every single day. And that is a huge accomplishment for me. For me, yoga has changed my life completely. I'm so grateful that I aligned with yoga. Honestly, y'all, like I never imagined myself being someone who practices yoga. And here I am. Like, I can't imagine my life without it. I'm so excited to deepen my relationship with yoga. It's such a beautiful spiritual practice. And that's another conversation in and of itself. I dropped a spring collection. I dropped a merch collection that I really love. And I poured my freaking heart and soul into that. Didn't profit. Didn't profit, to keep it real with you. I actually haven't profited off of any of my merch collection drops, but it's been an idea that I've invested in, that I've explored, that I've played around with, that I'm definitely going to continue sometime in the future. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I take these risks and believe in myself that much to be testing ideas like this. Earlier this year, we had our postponed 2020 Tucson Hip Hop Festival. For those of you that may not be aware, I co-founded a festival in Arizona when I was 21 years old. And it's been an annual festival ever since. And it's one of my greatest prides and joys. And definitely, we had our 2020 festival all planned out, obviously got postponed due to what took place in this world. And finally, we were able to make that postponed festival happen earlier this year. And I'm really grateful for that. I also spoke at a conference, which was so much fun. I was a speaker on a panel at a conference, and that was a really lovely experience. And I'm so excited to experience more of that, more public speaking. I feel like 28 was a year where I really just continued to really amplify and empower my voice, and so excited to continue doing that. And those are the accomplishments that I wrote down. But I feel like, like me remaining calm this year, as I have expanded on in this conversation, definitely an accomplishment. Deepening some of my close friendships here in LA has also felt like an accomplishment. Just continuing to devote myself to my healing and awakening, to really positioning myself in the best position that I possibly can, has felt like an accomplishment. The ways that I've remained consistent and devoted and dedicated and focused, like, oh my gosh, these 27, 28, 29, like my focus on myself and my growth and my positioning, like with long-term vision, like really has been on another level. And that has felt like an accomplishment. I've released a podcast episode every single week. Maybe I've missed a week here or there. Definitely an accomplishment. Like, just so proud of myself, y'all. So proud of myself. And a part of me feels a bit weird, like kind of just talking about my accomplishments with you. And I don't know if you've enjoyed even just listening to me list off my accomplishments, but we deserve to talk about our accomplishments and celebrate them and speak on them and acknowledge them because y'all, we got one life, okay? Let's be grateful and talk about our accomplishments. And if we were together in person, I would absolutely love to hold space for you to just listen to what your accomplishments have been this past year, okay? So I thank you for listening. And some of my favorite moments, at the beginning of this year, my best friend from back home came to LA and I got to take her to some of my favorite trails and just got to explore LA together a bit. My mom also came to LA, and this was the first time that my mom visited LA with the intention to simply spend time together and explore LA together. And that was so fun, so heartwarming, also so healing, and just so beautiful. Like, it was just a playful time. Got to show my mom around to some of my favorite spots. I saw my grandma for the first time since before the pandemic. It had been a couple years since I saw my grandma, my dad's mom, and seeing her for the first time in such a long time. This year was just such a special moment for me. Like, I was just so grateful to finally see her because I lost my other grandma, my mom's mom. She transitioned in late 2020. So I just like cherished. I'm just like cherishing my other grandma just that much more. I went to Sedona a couple of times this year, which I'm so grateful for as well. I freaking love Sedona. For those of you who have never been to Sedona, Arizona, highly, highly, highly recommend. It is just such a healing little town, and it's so beautiful, and the nature is just leaves you in awe, and I just love being there and so excited to host some retreats in the future there so we can share healing space together. I started attending Agape live. And what is Agape? Agape International Spiritual Center is a spiritual center that I have been attending online for the past couple of years. They've been online because of the C word, and they finally started opening back up and hosting in-person services, and I've been so excited to attend in person. And finally, now that I'm attending in person, it just felt so beautiful to experience this center, this space. My spiritual teacher, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, who founded this center and who leads the services. It's been just really beautiful for me to experience these services in person. And, this past service that I attended, it just had me thinking, like, what an honor it is to share space in person with your spiritual teachers that are still alive. Because when you have spiritual teachers that have already passed, spiritual teachers that are like your gurus in a way, I don't label my spiritual teachers as gurus lightly. Okay, guru is a word, but to align with a spiritual teacher and for them to still be alive and for you to have the opportunity to share space with them in person really is such an honor. I started going back to the gym, which I love. It's done wonders for my mental health, obviously for my physical health, and also for like my emotional health, like for my emotional regulation. The gym really does wonders for me regarding that. I hosted an online course in the month of October. I held a 4-week course that I'm also going to be um, guiding others through in the next course in January of 2023. And that just has felt so fulfilling for me. I freaking love guiding you all through these courses and through journaling and self reflection. Really is one of my passions. And lastly, but not leastly, my mom got married this year. And I'm going to do an episode talking about how grateful I am that I've been healing my relationship with my mom because, woo, let me tell you, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And I'm so grateful to be here now with a more healed relationship with my mom and seeing her get married to a man that I genuinely like is something I'm very, very grateful for. I'm very grateful that she's genuinely joyful, genuinely in a healthy relationship, and can genuinely be her whole, true, authentic self with this partner. So, love that for her. Our parents' joys really do become our own joys. Our parents' accomplishments truly become our accomplishments. And I had to share that in this conversation as I'm reflecting on this year of being 28 and all the special moments that it's come with. Again, this year has been, often when we think of like eventful years, we think of like we had a year where we traveled and we had these like big career accomplishments, and I didn't really experience much of that. But I know that all that I'm experiencing in 27, in 28, and will be experiencing in 29 is going to contribute so much goodness and greatness to my future self, like through the rest of my life, not just through my 30s. Because what I'm working through and what I've been devoting myself to and the way that I've been intentional about how I'm investing my time and energy, I know will benefit me in the long run. Like in the long run, this is really a longevity thing, that I'm really investing in. And sometimes when you're focused on longevity, when you're focused on yourself like this, like it can feel uneventful. It can feel, like it's a lot of solitude. And really, y'all, like 27 was a lot of solitude. 28 was continued solitude. I was not anticipating for my solitude to last this long, but I read a tweet recently, and this guy tweeted like that, that this year 2022 was a very lonely year. And even though my solitude has felt prolonged, like it honestly hasn't felt lonely. It really hasn't felt lonely. I've you know I feel like I have the deepest and continue to deepen my relationship with the divine, with my spirit team, with angels, loving ancestors, sacred ones, guardians of the four corners, mother in the earth, father in the sky, most high. Our relationship just continues to expand and to deepen. And, this year, something shifted, like the energy shifted, like come September on. Like I've just been experiencing such beautiful, wholesome, heartwarming experiences with soulmates. Like I recently made a new friend, like very recently, and it's just felt so divinely ordained and so magical and so beautiful and like such a gift. And one of the last things I want to mention that I'm noticing about how I'm transitioning out of my 28-year-old self is like, I recently started talking to someone, not like that, okay? I feel like often when we say I started talking to someone, we immediately assume like, oh, she's dating. Oh, it's not really like that, okay? But it's been like that enough to where I've noticed through our alignment, our conversations, like I've just realized, I currently feel like I really do feel emotionally available. I really do feel like my heart is open. Like this man really met me at an interesting time. I aligned with this man in an interesting time because my heart is open. Like again, something shifted in September because then on, like I've been experiencing some heart expansion, heart activations to where I just have these moments of pure bliss and deep unconditional love and joy for no reason. And I realized in talking to this human that like, I am open to partnership again. I am open to meeting my life partner and actually being open to receive it. I feel the most receptive to love and to life than I've ever been. And that feels like such a gift to my 29-year-old self. Like, if my 28-year-old self were to give a gift to my 29-year-old self, I feel like that gift would be an open heart. I feel like that gift would be readiness. I feel like that gift would be a calm, regulated nervous system and a strong spiritual foundation. In 27, I had certain callings, 28, I had certain callings, and some significant spiritual callings that came to me at 28 was to pray more. In 28, I've prayed the most that I've ever prayed in my entire life, and it's changed me. I am a prayerful woman. I am a woman that prays every single day, and I love that about myself. I feel like that makes me so beautiful. And I honestly never really imagined myself to be someone who prays the way that I pray as much as I pray. Just like with yoga, never imagined that, and here I am. I can't imagine my life without it. Really had this strong calling earlier this year to pray daily, practice yoga daily, to meditate. This was somewhat of a recent one. Like I've meditated, but not like this. Like I felt and also with prayer, like I've prayed before, but not like this. Like this year, like spirit really told me you need to pray and you need to meditate daily, devotedly, and deeply. And ooh, the prayers I've had, the meditations I've had as my 28-year-old self are life changing. So that has been my 28th year of life, y'all. Like, my year of calm, my year of integration, my year of heart opening, my year of continued maturation and readiness. Yeah, and it feels really good. Like I was very, very heartbroken on my 27th birthday. Coming into my 27th year. And turning 28 definitely felt like, not heartbroken, but my heart was still tender for sure. Like the scar tissue was still very tender to the touch. And now, oh my gosh, I'm turning 29. I'm really turning 29. Wow. Hopefully, I don't pressure myself too much to like, this is my last year of my 20s. Like, I really need to get all my shit together. And like, I just don't want to pressure myself, you know? Because again, I'm really trying to prepare myself as much as I can for my 30s. But I really just like, when my friend asked me, like, what's one of your goals for 29? My goal for 29 is like, what would it look like to honor me in all my 20s? Like if I could honor my 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28-year-old selves as my 29-year-old self, what would that look like? That's my goal for 29, is honoring me in my 20s and all the versions that I was. Thank you so much for listening. I thought that maybe I'd have like a crying moment, but I'm not. And that's okay. Maybe it'll come. But I really am so grateful for 28. I know that it's been life-changing, and I know that as I continue to journey through the years, like I'm going to look back at 27, 28, 29 and realize more and more so in new ways, like just how much what I've devoted myself to is benefiting me for the long run. So I'm very proud of myself. Shout out to getting older, man. Getting older may at times feel uncomfortable, may at times make us existential, may feel incredibly tender to the heart. But getting older really, truly is such a blessing, such an honor. And I'm really grateful, very grateful for the blessing and the honor to get older and older. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as I just spoke whatever was on my mind, heart, and spirit. And thank you for all the moments that we shared together as my 28-year-old self. Like, my 28-year-old self really put herself out there. And for all of you who received what my 28-year-old self put out there, I just thank you so much. I honestly can't thank you enough. You really contributed to making my 28th year of this life so special. Love and so much gratitude. Your girl, your host, Jocelyn. And the next time I speak with you, you shall be hearing from my 29-year-old self.